crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hobos. Yeah, but maybe.
This is Talk Sports Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and I'm joined for the last time this year, it has to be said, because we are at New Year's Eve time, and it's party time for some people, not for us, of course. The two Mikes will be working throughout the New Year period. Mr. Mike Parry, very good morning to you.
Very good morning, Mike. Great to be in, as you say. What a year it's been. What year is it now? We're just going through...
2013. It's going into 2014.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you.
I would ask you if you're going to make any New Year's resolutions, but I don't imagine you're the type of person that does that, because you live such a clean and sort of unencumbered life.
My only resolution normally is to say to myself, I must improve upon what I've done the year before, okay? Self-improvement is a big part of
How's that been going?
Yes, pretty good. Self-improvement is a
So you're saying you're a better person now than you were 5 years ago?
Oh, definitely.
Really?
Self-improvement is part of my life philosophy.
Is it?
That there is no point in going forward in life if you're going backwards.
No, that's true.
See what I mean?
That's true. So how do you measure that exactly?
Well,
how do you know if you've got better?
Well, how my mind is at the end of the year does my mind reward me with fulfilling feelings or negative feelings? And I feel that I'm rewarded by fulfilling feelings, that the year that's gone, that I've put behind me, has been a year of fulfillment, not just for myself.
You know, the asylum's full of people who are fulfilled. If you ask them if they're fulfilled, they say, oh yeah, absolutely.
I only have one mission in life.
I'm Napoleon.
I only have one mission in life, and that is, and I mean this absolutely seriously, my mission in life has been, for a couple of years now, only to help others, not to help myself. Yeah.
Well, in that case, it's even more amazing you haven't made the New Year's Honours List again.
Because
that's what apparently 74% of the people on the New Year's Honours List are getting an award for doing something in the community.
Well, that's good, because I think if you've got a couple who've fostered 40 children, or if you've got literally an old chap or an old woman who's been a lollipop lady, lollipop man for 50 or 60 years, help, millions of children to cross the road and all that kind of stuff. If you've got somebody who...
They're doing their job, aren't they? Lollipop man and lollipop lady, you're literally helping kids to cross the road. That's your job description.
Yeah,
so why should you get an award for it?
Because a civilised society is based on community. Mrs Thatcher said there's no such thing as society. I don't agree with that.
Well, she was kind of misquoted. That was all taken out of context.
Yeah, she was. But what I'm saying is, communities are the very lifeblood of society. If you have communities which are closely knit together, you've got a great country. If you've got communities...
we haven't got communities that are closely knit
together. If you've got communities which are divided, like, we know some countries in the Balkans, we know countries in Africa where there's a tribal feeling, then they're disunited. So the way to knit them together is to make community service a great thing to do, and one of the ways to make community service a great thing to do is to offer rewards, gongs, call them what you will, CBs, OBEs, for the people who contribute most
trinkets,
to their... No, they're not trinkets
at
all.
They are trinkets. They are worthless trinkets which are meant to absolutely, keep the people down in some way, so that they should somehow feel, oh, isn't it great, I get to go to Buckingham Palace for the day.
That very well-spoken chap you had on from Debrett's, was it?
Richard Fitzwilliams.
Yeah, absolutely. He said that, 70-80% of the honours go to ordinary people, which is great. Now...
Yeah, but that's a relatively recent development. They only did that, as I said, because they wanted to kind of calm everybody down during the whole Princess Diana crisis.
The whole thing was corrupted during the late 90s, early 2000, when politicians suddenly hit on the idea that if you make popular people knighthoods and all that, you actually get a few votes. So out of the blue, completely out of the blue, in round about, was it 98 or something like that, Geoff Hurst was rung up and said, would you like a knighthood? And this is, 30 years after he'd scored the...
Yeah, because when England won the World Cup, nobody got a knighthood as they would now. The Ashes squad all get OBE.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Alf Ramsey did get... he was the manager. He got an knighthood. But the idea of giving Geoff Hurst one and nobody else, Bobby Charlton got one for other services to football in between time, but giving Geoff Hurst a knighthood was a terrible insult to the rest of the team. For instance, Alan Ball was voted man of the match when he was just 19 years of age. He never got a knighthood before he died.
Yeah, but the idea of giving Andy Murray a knighthood that people are getting all worked up about, he's been snubbed, according to the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only in his early 20s.
I totally agree.
This is a guy who's still playing tennis.
Yeah.
If you're going to give them an award, surely it should be at the end of their career.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I'm absolutely with you. But again, it's what politicians have done in the 90s and the 2000s. Tony Blair, really, let's name names, decided this was a great populist view. So he gives Geoff Hurst one 30 years after, the mission he'd accomplished to score a Cup. And then, literally on the night that Sir Alex Ferguson won the European Cup in 1999 in Barcelona, he actually got Alistair Campbell, or maybe it was Alistair Campbell's idea, to rush down to the playing area, shouting over the heads of journalists and fans, "Would you like a knighthood?" to Sir Alex, to the then Alex Ferguson,
It's ludicrous.
who thought about it and said, "Yeah, okay, thanks." I mean, talk about on delivery,
Yeah.
just ludicrous. So I totally agree with you. The idea that you give.
What they should do, be done away with. We should do
Well,
away with
no,
it.
no, don't
That's
do
what I
away
wanna
with it. Don't do away
I
with
want
it.
to have them done away with.
Beckham should have got a knighthood because
Why?
he's now retired, okay?
Well,
and
so
he's been
what?
a
I mean, why
fantastic
should he be
ambassador to this
David?
country.
No, but he should not get a knighthood.
But Andy Murray cannot possibly have a knighthood until he's retired because you can't have the Wimbledon scoreboard showing, Djokovic versus Sir Andrew Murray. It's ludicrous.
It is mad.
Absolutely
well, what
mad.
do they do in the Tour de France? They'd have Sir Bradley Wiggins.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that's mad.
Sitting at the,
And the other guy,
Sir Lewis Hamilton.
the other guy
getting into a car.
the other guy who rode his bike, Chris, what's his name? The Scots guy.
Chris Hoy.
Yeah, Chris Hoy. I mean, he was still competing when he was Sir Chris
Yeah.
Hoy. That is utterly and absolutely ludicrous.
I
It
know,
really is.
madness.
Drives you
I'm
bonkers.
looking here because I've decided I'm going to buy myself a title. Right,
Oh,
while the
yeah.
show's
How's
on.
that going? How's it
English
going?
Lordship title, the brackets Lord, so I can call myself Lord Graham of Waterloo or Talksport Tower.
Why don't you call yourself Lord Graham of Fatsoville, huh?
Because there's no such place as Fatsoville, and that's not very funny. I mean, for a man of your size and weight, I'm always astonished at how you make so many comments about my size.
I am just...
£18.95,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Available option, standard pack or premium pack. Certificate for the first name lordship, so I can literally create my own lordship title right here as we speak.
But that's why I've just said call yourself Lord Fatsoville, because it's such a farce that you
Yeah.
can just dial up on the web and get yourself a title. You call
Exactly.
yourself anything.
But this is why these MBEs and OBEs and CBEs
No, they're
and
good.
knighthoods
They're
are all
good.
a complete load of old
No,
comments.
they're good. I like those. I mean, I know people who've...
You ever been to Buckingham Palace?
It's
It's a yes or no question.
No, I've never been inside Buckingham Palace, no.
Well, you've been outside.
Well, of course
Well,
not.
everybody's
Like
been
everybody's been
outside.
outside. It's such a big house.
Well,
You walk
here's
past
another
it
question.
occasionally.
Have
don't
you ever driven past Buckingham Palace in a taxi?
Yeah, absolutely. But do you know, when I first did that, when I was a young reporter working in London for the first time, I thought I'd arrived.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, this is part of my daily routine now. I'll be whizzing past Buckingham Palace in a taxi, up and down the Mall, and all this kind
The
of
Mall,
stuff.
even.
The Mall Mall, or whatever it's
The
called.
mal, is that some
And-
French disease, isn't it?
And,
Mal de Bois.
and Pall Mall. And I thought I'd
Oh,
arrive.
Mall.
But anyway, we digress. I think the honours is a good thing, but the thing is that, as your very posh-speaking friend said, sometimes the honour is given to the person who's been best at that job
Yeah.
throughout history. In which case, we go retrospectively back to Dixie Dean, who scored more goals in English football than anybody else ever, and 60 in one season, 28-29.
Right.
He should be awarded a posthumous knighthood. He should be Sir Dixie Dean.
I don't think you get posthumous knighthoods, can you?
Well, of course you can. Of course you can. You get posthumous awards for
Well,
anything.
who have they given a posthumous knighthood to?
Well, I don't know precisely, but I
can't
mean,
name anybody.
but they give posthumous VCs, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do. Well, obviously,
You
there's a
know.
reason for that.
Yeah,
Because it's a valour award for somebody who's died in a conflict.
well, that's right. I mean, brave people do get killed. That's sadly, that's absolutely true. All right. Well, invent the system then of giving posthumous knighthoods, because
Maybe you'd get one for that, on that basis.
no, you see, you're being trite again. You're being trite. In fact, I see no reason why eventually I shouldn't get some sort of an award, an MBE, an OB, or something. Because
For
my
what?
attitude, well, because
Services to what?
well, to other people. My
You're
life
the
is
most
not.
selfish person I've ever met.
Now, how could you say that when I get up every morning at about 4:30 and go and feed the
ducks.
local duck population?
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
that's not people, is it?
Well, it doesn't
Services
matter. It's
to
being
ducks you could
kind.
get.
It's
Duck
being kind.
services.
It's being
Hey,
kind,
listen,
isn't it, to people?
speaking of which, by the way, you were on the Sports Breakfast on Boxing Day, right?
Yes.
Which was hugely acclaimed as the Porkmeister injecting a bit of life into that show, right?
Well,
Brilliant.
it was with Dance and a great guy to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, but what about your story? Because I only heard a bit of this story.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was only with half an ear listening.
Yeah,
because I was
right,
half
yeah,
asleep.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
very early in the morning for
Yeah.
me, as you can imagine. What was this deal about your car blowing
Well-
up? Because you've got this new car.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it blown up already?
Well, no, it didn't, but I thought it was. I got a bit confused, actually, because I drove home that night, so that was... no, actually,
The night
I
before
told...
was Christmas Day, right?
That's right, but I'd been here on Christmas Eve, right?
Right.
I'm driving home on Christmas Eve. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I was driving through floods,
It was
literally.
very stormy still.
Car
wasn't
Sholton is a place in Surrey, and it was featured on the TV news for flooded roads.
Right.
Now, I drove home through there, and it meant I had to drive very slowly, and the bottom of my car got very, very wet. Now, when
there was a lot of water about 1.5 foot deep. Wasn't
it was terrible. So anyway, when I eventually get to talk to Porky Towers, right, I go in and I go down my ramp into the underground car park,
right.
and the gate comes up and you go in. So although it's not significantly warmer because it was a very cold night as well. It is a different atmosphere. It's a protected atmosphere. Obviously, there's no rain about and all that. Now, as I drove in and started manoeuvring to park my car, an awful lot of sort of smokes or steam or something started coming from under the bonnet.
Really?
And I thought, hang on, what's going on here? And I thought, I think my car's on fire. I'm not joking, there was so much smoke coming out from under the bonnet, so that my car's on fire. So
was there not any alarms going off or anything?
There weren't alarms going off, but it was pouring out through the radiator. And I thought, this is not steam, this is smoke. So anyway, in my alarm, I thought, I better get out this car quick, because I think it's going to blow up.
Right.
And I don't want to be in a car that's...
So you just left it there?
Well, I opened the door, and I shot out the car, ran towards the
This is the underground car, so there's lots of other cars around.
Well, this is the point.
So if it did explode, that wouldn't have been very community-minded, would it?
This is the
Surely
point.
you should have driven it outside to let it explode on its own.
Well, it's funny you should say that, but I looked around and I thought, oh, crikey, if this car bursts into flames, there's an awful lot of cars here with a lot of petrol in them, the whole thing could go up,
and the building could go up.
My penthouse is only a few floors up, and I thought the whole building could...
You've got to worry about the penthouse. What about all the people living in between?
Well, they'd have a problem as well, but, if it reached the penthouse, it'd be a serious fire, wouldn't it? So anyway...
If you want to get a bravery award, you should have driven the car out back into the road and taken it to a place where it wouldn't have mattered.
It's funny you should say that. A couple of days earlier, I'd seen some sort of Bruce Willis film where he'd driven some burning lorry through a barricade or something, So I suddenly thought, well, that's the only thing I can do. I'm going to have to be a hero. So I jumped back into my car, and started backing it out, thinking any minute now this car's going to burst into flames, and I'm going to,
be driving it through a very leafy part of Surrey.
Yeah, that's right, to try and get it away from this building.
So what was wrong with it anyway? I presume it didn't burst into flames.
No, what happened was, I left it outside, then I did get it outside, left it outside, and just sort of thought I better leave it there for the night, because it was...
Had it stopped steaming by this time?
Well, no, it's still steaming. But anyway, next morning I come down and because you can't even open the radiator when it's hot, apparently. You have to let it cool down.
Well, it's quite dangerous,
Yeah. So anyway, I rang up the Merc dealers and said, what's going on here? And they said, well, look, there is a bit of grease on the engine when it's first new because it's been oiled and all that kind of stuff, and it will have been that. Believe me, it was not on fire. So it wasn't on fire.
Like when you buy a hairdryer, when smoke comes out the first time you put it on?
Does it?
That kind of thing.
I've never seen that happen.
Yeah, well, how many hairdryers have you bought?
I haven't used a hairdryer for about 25 years.
I'm not surprised.
No, it's not because...
I wouldn't bother starting
No. This is radio, so nobody can say I've got a full head of hair, so you're going to suggest that I haven't. You're going to suggest that I haven't.
I think if you put a hairdryer on it, it'd blow it all off.
No, although there is some sense in your madness, hairdryers, I know from years and years of research, if you use a hairdryer too often on your hair, it makes your hair go... dry too quickly, it then gets brittle, it snaps, it comes off, it can damage the follicles, and that's why I never use one. I only ever use a towel to dry my hair, and sometimes, if I feel that it needs sort of protection from the cold or the wet outside, I wear a woolly hat when I go out.
I'm very fascinated by all of this.
Yeah.
You were wearing a woolly hat actually last week when you came in.
Exactly.
People were asking to see it because,
Yeah, well, that's my procedure, but never hairdryers. Never hairdryers. Hairdryers are bad for you. They damage your hair. They damage your scalp. They can damage your face because it. No, it's true. It dries up your scalp and pulls the skin up on your face, and you start look.
I can't take any more.
Like.
Stop talking about your hair and hairdryers. I'm going to buy myself a lordship title. Maybe you could suggest some names for me because I'm not going with Porky's name for it. I fancy Lord Graham of Waterloo. This is Talk Sport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. You can find our podcast on iTunes, of course. It should be there in a few hours' time once New Year's Eve proper gets underway, I suppose I should say. Mike, we should talk a little bit about Everton because David Moyes and Leighton Baines have made their way onto a couple of the back pages this morning. According to the Mirror, Moyes is back in for Baines, but according to the Independent, he's going to be disappointed because he's not going to get him in the January window once again.
Most of the reports this morning are saying that Everton will, solidly fight any attempt for him to go to United. I mean, let's look at it practically. The attraction of going to Manchester United now is not nearly as great as it was in the summer.
No.
Because in the summer you're going to the Premier League champions, and they're not going to be Premier League champions at the end of this season. You were also going to a team that had 25 years of continuous success. That now might be halted by the fact they've got a new manager who just happens to be Everton's ex-manager.
Yeah.
And we don't really know how David Moyes and Leighton Baines got on at Everton, because David Moyes, would have had different relationships with different players at Everton. So I'd say that I think Everton are prepared to let him go if they significantly increase that £16 million to above 25 million, because Leighton is 29 years of age.
And what about when I said to Toby
Yeah.
earlier, I don't know if you'd say that was right, when Leighton Baines came back from not playing for a long time, and actually Everton were worse with him.
Not really. He was out for a month.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a long time.
Yeah, but they lost, didn't they? To Sunderland.
Yeah, we lost one game.
But that was his game that he came back in, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. But then again, I'm sure you can't blame Leighton Baines for that. And I tell you what's quite interesting, in his absence, the striking ability that he brought, the attacking ability he brought to the team from way back, has been replaced by Seamus Coleman coming up the other side on the right, who scored a sensational goal in our last game. Very good indeed.
They gave him for 60,000 or something.
60,000 quid from Sligo Rovers. Not bad. Yeah, a fantastic signing. And also, Oviedo, who took Leighton's place, is also getting a bit mouthy about wanting to stay in the team, because he's had a good run as well. So the portents are there for a possible deal, but it's going to have, it'd have to be an awful lot more than 16 million quid.
That's going to be the problem, isn't it, for David Moyes and for Everton as well, because Everton are now above Manchester United. They're in the top four.
Yeah.
Nobody's really sure if they're going to stay there. In fact, I've got a text here from Derek, who's texted in and says, Mike, can you ask Porky Parry when was the last time that Everton finished above Liverpool and won a trophy in the same season? I believe it was 1985.
I will take our friend's knowledge on that one and accept it gladly, because in my head I can't go back and do it. Obviously, we finished above Liverpool in the last two seasons, but we didn't win a trophy. And in the 80s, either Everton or Liverpool were winning the league title, as it was in those days, and the FA Cup on a regular basis. So I'll accept my friend's instructions on that one, so to speak.
Well, let's talk about Liverpool now as well,
Yeah.
because Suarez is in the news, not least because Brendan Rodgers is now defending him. I don't know if you saw Brendan Rodgers talking a few hours ago, saying that it's what a terrible thing that Jose Mourinho is attacking him for.
Well, I think it is, to call it a swimming pool dive.
Why?
It was ludicrous. It was a clear penalty. Clear penalty to everybody.
It was a dive. The point is, the thing that amazed me about Brendan Rodgers came out and said, well, in the past he's been a bit of an easy target. Oh, yeah, no kidding. Well, that'd be because he bites people, because he's been involved in a racist incident which got him banned, and because he dives around a lot.
Yeah,
and I've said many times he's not as bad as that this year, and he's having a much better season. But the more you look at that dive that he did after Eto'o,
there wasn't a dive.
Rather clumsily fell into him. He's definitely doing more to it.
No way was that. That was Howard Webb's worst ever game, wasn't it? Because
that's what a lot of people are saying.
Well, it is, because he must have gone blind for that second when he was lifted off his feet. He was lifted off his feet.
But then he kind of moves the second time though.
Well,
he kind of moves through the air.
Clear penalty to me. And also Eto'o, the incident in the early minutes of the game. A referee bottles that if he doesn't send a man off for a foul like that, which could have been a leg break. Well, it could have been a knee breaker actually. Could have taken a man's ligament out, couldn't it, on his knee?
Is it possible because he was kind of behind the Liverpool player that he did that to? Who was it he did it to? I can't remember now. Was it Henderson?
It was it Henderson? Yes, I must
But
admit,
anyway, is it possible that he didn't see that the studs were up? I mean, surely he must have seen it. It was quite close. I was interested to read Graham Poll's view of it all, who said that he thought that Howard Webb is kind of in practice for the World Cup.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, what he means, I suppose, is that while he's obviously going to be selected for the World Cup, what he wants is to get the final, which is what he got in South Africa.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, he doesn't want to make any kind of rash decisions. Or
Yeah,
doesn't
but
want
there's
to
a difference between making rash decisions and ignoring the blindingly obvious, isn't there? And the blindingly obvious to me was that, okay, if Suarez did do a theatrical swimming pool dive, why wasn't he booked for simulation?
Yeah, good point. Very good point. I can't argue with that.
Right, there we go.
Howard Webb has definitely had a bad game. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
But,
he did.
But let's talk about something which is obviously in a lot of people's minds. It's on the front pages as well as the back pages, and it's this terrible story about Michael Schumacher and the incident on the ski slopes, because the next 24 hours, we're being told, is critical for him.
The Daily Mirror have done this best this morning, right? Talking about this morning's papers. I think that picture on the front of the Daily Mirror showing the ski run that he was going down off-piste, which... I mean, I'm not a skier, but that means that it's not a sort of...
it's not a groomed slope,
yeah, that's right. Not a practice track. You just go off onto virgin snow, presumably. And what really amazes me is that what this picture shows, very, very graphically, is that he was skiing over, like, a rock field, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
You know, a minefield has hidden mines. Well, this slope he went skiing down clearly had hidden rocks. You can see them sticking out from under the snow. So that, to me, looked very, very dangerous indeed. Although you read some of the accounts of Michael Schure's makeup by his friend, they say he is, in fact, a danger junkie. You know, he loves the opportunity to put himself at risk and that sort of thing. But that really is absolutely horrendous. And inside, Mike, when we read the reports, and I've been keeping in touch with this because a fascinating man, Michael Schumacher, it'll be an absolute tragedy if the boy's seriously hurt, or even if the very worst happens, God forbid. But, you know, this guy who brought so much to Formula One racing hit this rock so hard, it smashed his protective helmet into two. So you can imagine the sort of impact that it must have happened, and it makes you shudder.
Yeah, absolutely shocking stuff. Mike Parry is here. I'm Mike Graham. There's more from the two Mikes coming up next. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes, of course. There's an awful lot for us to talk about, Mike. And just before we do any more of those stories in the papers this morning, I must tell you, talking about communities and the Christmas period and all that, right, over the course of the last weekend, I was rather shocked at something that happened at my new gaff in the countryside, right? Because
you got a new gaff, have you?
Well, it's a new gaff, yeah. We don't really talk too much about that.
No.
There's no need to.
No.
It's partly in the sort of it's in the countryside in Sussex.
You've got up in the world. You've got yourself a place with a bit of a country estate feel around it.
Country estate, yeah. But as a result of that, and I know, you know from one of our mutual friends who used to live down in Wiltshire, they like to shoot animals in these places, right?
Yes.
So they have organised shoots. Now, I don't want to take your views on that at any particular point, but we know that every couple of weeks during this particular time of the year, a load of guys turn up and they go and they shoot pheasant and they shoot magpies and they shoot rabbits and they shoot all sorts of things.
Really, do they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but they
shoot deer as well.
Well, there's no deer there. It's not that rural. I mean, it's not the north of Scotland. There's no deer running around. I mean, there's
deer running around in Richmond Park in London.
Yeah,
so why shouldn't there be deer running around where you live?
There are deer that live in Richmond Park. They were put there by Henry VIII, weren't they?
Yeah.
You know, they've been there for centuries.
All right, well, there's a few deer, you know, a lot closer to London than your new place.
There are, but around where I am.
Yeah, I just thought I'd point that out to you, as soon as you were trying to make out I was some sort of thickhead, suggesting there were deer in Sussex.
Well, I'm just saying, where I am, there aren't any deer. There's pheasants, there's magpies, there might even be the odd stoat, but there certainly aren't any deer.
You can't shoot stoats, they're too small.
Well, they can shoot rabbits.
No, you can't shoot stoats, though.
Why not?
They're too small, they move too fast.
Stoats are the same size as rabbits.
No, they're not. They move at the speed of light. Stoats move with the speed of light.
So you don't think a stoats can ever be shot, then?
Well, I very much doubt it. Have you ever seen a stoat move?
I've never seen a stoat alive.
Oh, I have.
Where have you seen a stoat, then?
In Wiltshire.
In Wiltshire?
Yeah, I saw stoats running around in the road, and they move like lightning, honestly. But anyway, look, go on.
Anyway, so I was outside just first thing in the morning having a cigarette, funnily enough, in the garden. And, you know, there's no fencing or anything like that.
There's two young children as well.
I'm outside the house. What's wrong with that?
Well, because you're shortening your life, aren't you? Your excess weight and then smoking and the amount you drink. I mean, what an unhealthy lifestyle.
Well, you're
but
the
anyway.
one that's got the dodgy heart. But anyway, we'll talk later about that.
Yeah, and that's why I look after it.
Yeah, I know you do. I know. You're very, very good to yourself. Anyway, so suddenly this dog appeared, right, out of nowhere.
What sort of dog?
It was a brown Labrador. Quite a heavy-set brown Labrador.
Like Labradors.
Very nice dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we're thinking of getting one, funny enough. But I thought it was a next-door neighbour's dog, because I've seen a brown lab going in and out of their house, you know, because there's another couple of other sort of houses nearby.
Yeah.
Anyway, this dog just kind of ran, and it was quite a loud noise as it ran. It kind of, you know, took me quite by surprise.
Yeah.
Ran into the bit of the garden, which is immediately visible to me. And did one of those things, you know, when the dog starts turning round and round and round, and you know there's only one thing it's going to do.
No.
It's finding a way to, you know, to do its business, for want of a better word, right?
Me. Yeah.
And I just started shouting at the dog. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You know, as if it would answer me, you know. But it
exactly. I'm not sure dogs understand human conversation to that extent.
Anyway, before I knew what was going on, you know, he had deposited, you know, whatever it was that he was going to do in the middle of the garden.
Do we need to talk about this?
And so I walked over to it and just said, oh, get lost. And the dog bounded off. He knew he shouldn't have done it. And anyway, 5 minutes later, I went inside and I said, you know, I think the neighbour's dog has run out. Because I used to live in a house where the neighbours had a dog.
Right.
And they used to just open the door in the morning and let the dog out.
Right.
And it would go straight to our garden and do what it had to do.
This is disgusting.
Oh, it was unbelievable. You'd come home every day and there'd be like piles of this stuff on the garden.
Dear me.
One of the reasons I moved, right?
Disgusting.
Anyway, so it turns out that I realised that it was actually the guys who were organising the shoot, because they had quite a few dogs. They had a golden retriever, they had a couple of other labs, because they're gun dogs, right? Yeah. They use them to go and chase the pheasant or whatever.
Labradors actually recover fish from water. They're trained to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they?
Historically,
Well, they weren't shooting any fish.
No. Historically, Labradors are better at jumping into rivers and catching fish.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
No, they do. No,
Well, anyway,
believe me.
they're not going after fish. right?
Labradors are fish-catching dogs.
That's rubbish.
They are,
You're making
honestly.
that up.
I'm not. I'm telling you. They were trained to recover fish.
Well, these dogs are trained to go after the birds. And
All
stuff
right,
that
go
get
on,
shot.
yeah.
Anyway, so I went up to this guy and I
Ooh.
said, I said, you got a brown lab? And he said, yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, there it is there, because I saw it straight away. There was about 5 dogs running around. I said, I'm afraid it's been into my garden and gone to the toilet. And he went, oh, I'm terribly sorry about that. He said, I was going to come and see you anyway to tell you about the shoot. I said, yeah, I know about the shoot. He didn't offer to come and clean it up. He didn't say anything about, well, would you like me to come
Disgusting.
and it just said, I just was struck by the fact that, I mean, if that had been my dog,
Yeah.
first of all, I wouldn't have allowed it to happen.
Of course not.
And if it had happened, the first thing I would have done was go over and offer to clean it up.
Well,
so I ended up I had to wait actually because I thought I'm going to wait a few hours
Yeah.
because I don't want to go while it's still kind of fresh. I'm going to
Oh,
wait a while
God.
and I'm going to pick it up later, which is what I did.
Dear. Well, you didn't pick it up, obviously.
Well, with a plastic bag.
I wouldn't bother. I got a spade and buried it,
No, but
2
you
feet
can't.
of soil half a mile
No,
away or something like
you
that.
can't do it. It's
But you've
horrible.
got young kids. You can't afford
Well,
to have
I mean-
that sort of thing happening in your garden.
No.
Disgusting. You can go blind. Children
I
go
know.
blind. It's disgusting. But listen, I know how you can stop that happening in the future.
How?
Spray your lawn with ammonia.
What?
Spray your lawn with ammonia. Seriously.
Bleach?
Well, is it bleach? I don't know. Ammonia, and those dogs will never come anywhere near your house again.
Well, yeah, but nothing will ever grow there either.
Well, I'm not sure
Just
about that.
Spray ammonia on the grass, it'll all burn.
No, well, I'm not sure about that. But
Well, I'm very sure about
Well,
that.
I don't know about that. The point is, I live in a leafy tree-lined street in.
Yeah, but you haven't got a garden though.
Will you just hear me out, please? In a leafy tree-lined street in Stockbroker Belt, okay? And, of course, people come around walking their dogs. And although it's got better over recent years, I think people have become more educated, you still get the occasional situation in which a dog does its business on the pavement outside,
Well, one of the
Porky
biggest
Towers.
bugbears that I have is that people who
Yeah.
have a dog,
Yeah.
allow it to foul
Exactly.
the pavement,
Exactly.
as we call it, and they don't pick it up.
No, it's
I
disgusting.
just don't understand that.
It's disgusting.
Here's
And-
another thing, just before you carry on.
Yeah.
I took the kids for a walk, actually, yesterday. It was very nice,
Right.
because one of the things
Right.
you can now do is walk into town
Excellent.
and go for a pub lunch. right?
Excellent.
Which is something I've
Yeah.
always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And on the way back...
What,
came
go for a
across-
pub lunch?
Go for a pub lunch,
You've been
yeah.
going for pub lunches, mate, for 30 years,
No,
to
but
my
I mean,
knowledge.
for within walking distance of the house, so you can literally walk there. You,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't drive there.
Yeah,
because
well,
then
you can't walk very far, so it'd have to be very close to the town.
Well, it's about half a mile.
Half a mile, yeah,
Up
go
the
on.
hill.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very good.
How long does that take you? About 2 hours?
No, it took us about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that.
All right, go on. Mm.
Anyway, you seem very competitive this morning.
Go on,
It's
go on.
supposed to be the season of goodwill for
Yeah,
heaven's
it
sake.
is a good one.
Anyway, walking back across fields,
Mm.
there's people that take their dogs obviously in fields for
Yeah.
walks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's loads of it all over the place.
Oh, it's
I mean,
disgusting.
what sort of person takes their dog into a field
Yeah.
and still doesn't pick it up?
No, it's disgusting. What you need to do is, Mike, is particularly in this tree-lined street in which I live, there are squares of sort of soil where the trees grow
Yes.
on the pavement, right?
Right.
So what I've done is now, because that's where the dogs tend to think it's a toilet for them, I now go around whenever I can with an ammonia spray, and I do, and I spray the
What,
base.
during the day?
Yeah,
Really?
definitely. I've got no shame in this, mate.
Has
Nobody's
anyone
gonna-
ever seen you doing it?
Yes, nobody's going to foul up my street, right? And I go around and I spray the ammonia all over the area at the base of the tree, because dogs are attracted to trees because they like to urinate
Well, they
on
smell.
them.
Well, they smell. They've
Yeah.
familiarity about it.
Yeah,
don't they?
that's right. And I go up and down the road spraying all these, and then just to make absolutely sure, because it has even happened on the pavement, more disgusting than ever, I go up the street and I spray the walls to the various properties.
Where
see
did you
what I
get
mean?
this spray?
Well, you just buy it in a shop. It's the sort of thing that you would use to clean your bathroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It says spray
Yeah,
with
but-
ammonia. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? You seen these things?
Right.
Have you ever seen a bathroom spray?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, have you? Really? That's amazing. That.
Excuse me, I'm not the one that's got a cleaner.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've never seen you clean. You've always had a young lady in tow to do all that for you. But anyway, that's by the by. And
Well, instead of an old lady, which is what you've got.
well, you've got no. Yours is old ladies these days. You're not that young yourself, right?
No, but the one you've got that you've hired is old, isn't she?
Excuse me,
Mrs.
that's
Mott.
my housekeeper.
Yeah. Well, how old is she?
That's her job. I don't know how old she is. I don't ask her. Point is, she does a job. She's been doing it for years, and she's very good at it. Now, if you get this ammonia spray, mate, go up and down the street spraying it, you will never be bothered with dogs again in your life. So what I suggest is...
Well, excuse me, I'm a bit worried about this because I
Yeah.
think it might be dangerous for the dogs. I don't want to kill
Well, it is
anybody's
dangerous.
dog.
It is dangerous
You
for
don't
the
want to
dogs.
kill the dog.
No, you don't kill
It's
the
not
dogs.
the dog's fault. It's the owner's fault.
They sniff it and they think, oh, danger, and they just run off. Honestly, believe me.
They
it's-
run off.
Yeah, they run off. Yeah, so and go in somebody
How
else's
much of this
street.
stuff are you buying?
Well, a couple of bottles of this costs about, I don't know, £6 or something, you know, and that's enough to do a street. It's enough to do a street easy.
How often are you doing that then?
Every few weeks. Every few weeks.
Now I'll be thinking, when I can't get hold of you on the phone,
Yeah.
you're out spraying the street.
Well,
with
I might
some
be.
chemical.
I might be. Now, if you did that on the border of your, I'm not saying doing it all over your grass. If you did it on the border of your land now, right? I bet you'd never be bothered by dogs again. In fact, I know you wouldn't, Mike. I know you wouldn't, honestly.
Well, alternatively, I could just set up a kind of a trap, so that if a dog comes anywhere near it, it'll just kill it.
Well, why would you bother doing that? I mean, that's preposterous. Don't you agree that my plan is actually much more practical? Don't you think?
No, I don't think it's practical at all.
Of course it's practical.
It sounds very dangerous for the environment. It sounds very dangerous for the dog.
Rubbish.
And it sounds
it's
very
not dangerous for the dog.
children.
A dog is not going
So
to
my kids are going to be crawling about where there's ammonia. Is that what you're telling me?
No, you say to your kids, don't go near the edge of the field or the edge of your land or anything like that.
You've never had kids, have you? You can't tell them not to go near the edge of a garden.
Right, if you can communicate properly with children, like I've always done, by treating them like adults, then you can. You can.
Really?
Yeah, of course you can.
So that's the answer.
Yeah, I've had nieces and nephews, and they've grown up to be fine people, and I take some of the credit for that because I've always been able to communicate with them.
They don't secretly sniff ammonia or anything, do they?
No, of course they don't secretly sniff ammonia, and a dog can't be injured by ammonia. It can detect ammonia and stay away. It's a warning sign for dogs. I haven't had a problem in my street since I started the ammonia patrols, believe me.
It's not quite the same. In a street, it's not quite the same as having a garden problem.
I know it's not, and that's why I say do it on the borders, okay? Do it on the borders. If it's an open plan sort of field and you live now in, the rural countryside and you've only got hedges separating you from, the landowner next door, then just spray the hedge. It's not a problem. The dogs will stay away.
Well, the thing that worries me now is that this dog is going to come back in 2 weeks' time, the next time there's a shoot, and he's going to run back into the garden because he thinks that's where he can go. I don't think he is this time.
No. Use the ammonia spray and see what happens. He'll stay away, believe me. I know these things.
Okay. Well, thank you for the advice. I'll see what I can do. Now, I was going to talk to you about this other story that I spotted earlier on about the cycling. Apparently, you and I have had conversations about this problem with cyclists in the past. Right?
Absolutely crazy.
According to a story I read a few hours ago, they're going to build cycling paths in the air. Right? It's going to cost £200 million, and they're going to put them all. I don't know why it's going to take 20 years. It's going to take 20 years, and London is going to be filled in the sky with cyclists riding above railway tracks.
Exactly, they're going to build them above railway tracks. So it's going to be like a double-decker railway track, but the top deck will be cyclists. Now, you and I have both been to Chicago. Does it remind you of the
L?
Yeah,
they call it the L, don't they?
They call it the L, but it's rapid transit.
It's the elevated subway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the rapid transit thing. It works very well in Chicago. It works in parts of
they got it in
Brooklyn.
New York. Well, they had it in New York
Brooklyn
as well.
and Queens. They have it more than in the city, don't they? And they have it there. But it's mad on two. First of all, we must say that it's tragic that cyclists are being killed in London and other cities because of the inadequate...
It's the congestion, really, isn't it?
Well, what it is, Mike, is it's certain politicians' desperate desire to prove that cycling is the transport of the future and we can all get healthy and save petrol fumes by cycling around on bikes, but at the same time trying to crush them into narrow little streets in London where they get killed when lorries turn a corner and unfortunately suck the cyclists in underneath them. It's outrageous.
I actually thought it was a reasonable solution because, there's never going to be a solution where you can ban all cars from the centre of a city or where you can ban bikes. But if you're going to put the bikes up on higher level than the cars, then it's going to be safer, isn't it?
Well, yes, but A, it's going to take 20 years to build. B, it's going to cost 200 million, so make that $1 billion by the time it's finished, and the politicians have got all the figures wrong, right? But then C, by then the cycling fad will have disappeared, so there'll be nothing to put on those roads. I'm telling you, people won't go on cycling forever.
It's not going to disappear.
Of course it'll disappear. I think it's...
You had a bike once, didn't you?
Yeah, it got nicked.
Yeah, I know, but it got nicked, so was that the end of it? You didn't buy another one?
No. Why should I buy a £400 bike, have it nicked, and then buy another one?
Well, presumably you bought it in order to cycle on it.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So did you actually go out on it?
Yeah, I've been out on it a few times.
Really?
But only a few times. And then two things happened. Firstly, some kid reached through the grill of the car park, the underground car park, and literally just took the saddle off.
Why?
Well, because he was a vandal kid. And he...
Why would he want just a saddle?
I don't know.
Perhaps he was building his own bike and he needed a saddle.
Maybe.
The one missing part.
Maybe. But I saw him, from the window in the penthouse, I saw him walking up the street with a saddle, and I thought, that's unusual. Why would that kid be walking around with a bike saddle,
But it was your saddle?
It was my saddle,
Did you not recognise it?
No, of course I didn't.
Because you've ridden on the bike so few times, you had no idea.
One saddle looks like another, so anyway...
No, it doesn't. They all look different.
Yeah, anyway, next time I went down in the garage to,
Had he taken a wheel the next time?
No, with all my cycling gear on, I got on my bike...
You were in cycling gear?
I was in cycling
gear.
Lycra? No, just like shorts and a t-shirt, you know, and my helmet. I had my helmet on.
Obviously.
And I
That
got
must have been funny.
I got to the bike. Now, can you imagine trying to sit on a bike without a saddle? I mean, it'd be
Very
quite painful, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, and then I suddenly realised, bloody hell, it was that kid with the saddle. That's my saddle. So
You had to go and buy another
you
saddle.
had to go and buy another saddle.
At
yeah.
which point did you not realise that actually they don't all look alike?
Well, not really. I don't know what the new one looked like compared to the old one. Anyway,
Well, you didn't want to get one of those ones from like Call the Midwife, do you? One of those great big triangular saddles. You want to have like a racing
I don't
saddle.
think you can buy those these days anyway.
You can.
But they didn't want one too thin. They don't want to be sitting on, like, you know, the edge of a banister or
No,
something.
but the harder it is, the better if you're going to be cycling for long distances.
I don't know. Anyway, so I went and got a new saddle, so I put that on. But I got this one with a lock, so that, you know, nobody could just flick the switch and nick it. So, so I went out and I came back and I chained it up to two railings, right,
In the underground car park.
in the underground car park, behind my own car.
Yeah.
Thick, you know, chains with a plastic covering around them.
Yeah.
And then the next time I came down to use the bike, the chains were just there. The bike wasn't, seriously. Yeah, no. And I thought, well, and I don't know how they got in, because it's, you know, it's...
You know, somebody's got some kind of vendetta against you.
I think they probably have, but it's a card, you know. It's like
Maybe it's
plastic
somebody's
card.
got a dog who's seen you spray the street with ammonia.
Well, I don't think I was spraying ammonia in those days. But anyway,
You should have sprayed it on the bike.
you have to report it to the police for insurance purposes, but in fact I didn't have it insured, so that wasn't a problem. But I did talk to somebody, I can't remember who it was, I mean, like a street warden or somebody, these guys who dish out parking tickets. I don't speak to them very often unless it's in a row. But point of my story is, he said to me that there has been an increase recently of lorries driving around. You know, those sort of lorries that don't really have anything in the back except a sort of wire fence around them. And they're often used for excess sort of garbage and that sort of stuff.
No, rag and bone type lorries.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. He said he's seen 2 or 3 in the last month driving around with piles of bikes in the back, and he just thinks that gangs go round and just lift the bikes.
Yeah, but they couldn't have seen yours if it was hidden behind a car.
Well, they could have seen me cycling into the garage, if you see what I mean. Apparently they hang around all over the place, they're nicking bikes outside shops and everything, and they go off and they sell them at boot sales on a Sunday, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, talking of insurance, here's one I should mention to you. The strange thing happened to me with the car that I've got, which is currently sort of on loan, which is a bit of a complicated story.
Yes.
But it's a new car, right?
Yes.
Somebody whacked into the mirror. Now, either somebody whacked into the mirror or something hit the mirror in one of the storms, right? And the casings come off it. It's an electric mirror, so the thing works completely fine, but it's got exposed wires and all the rest of it. What do you do about that?
What do you mean, what do you do about it?
Well, I mean, somebody's hit it, but I don't know who's hit it.
Well,
So if I have to pay for it, then I shouldn't have to, should I?
No, you should claim it on the insurance as an accident.
Yeah, but it's not my insurance, it's not my car.
Yes, I know, but you must have an insurance policy to be able to drive it. There must be one in existence.
But that's from the people who are loaning me the car.
Yeah, well, in that case, that's their problem. Because as long as, you know, you didn't do it yourself with a hammer in a fit of pique when you sort of
Well, they can tell, you see, they can tell that I didn't hit anything.
Misbehaving.
Because if I had hit something, the whole mechanism would be broken. But the mechanism
no,
actually
not
works.
necessarily. I've got a device on my car in which the mirrors snap in.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was hit while they were snapped in.
Really?
And it's just the casing that's come off.
Find that very strange, because on a Jaguar I had 4 Jaguars ago, which is an older version of the modern Jaguar, obviously, the mirrors didn't come in very far, and the number of times a bus would take off the mirror, because it's a very wide car, the old Jaguar XJ, you know what I mean? It happened to me 2 or 3 times, and you're right. It just leaves it lifeless, hanging on by the wires.
But that's not what's happened.
No,
that's
the casing's just come off.
It's not hanging off.
So you can still operate the mirror
works
from
fine.
inside the car.
Yeah, and the light on the mirror still works. Everything still works. It's just that the casing's not there.
Very odd, but I don't know why you're asking me to help you solve the problem with the broken casing on
you're
your
the man
mirror.
that's got the answer to
But
everything.
no, what's it got to do with me? Well, don't you think I've got better things to do in life than worry about your broken mirror?
Well, I thought you might have some advice for me.
The advice is...
Since you're so community-minded.
You've got an insurance policy, take it into a garage and get it fixed, and then you'll have a car that doesn't look as though you've driven it, you know, too close to the parking slot at your local Waitrose or whatever.
I didn't think you'd give me much sympathy. Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Mike Porky Parry will be back later on in the week, of course. He'll be on the Sports Breakfast, and he'll be back with me on Thursday night, by which time it will be 2014.